Hey family, welcome back to the myth making and myth makers series of videos I've been making here. Today I'm going to talk about what is the deal with flat Earth and uh, turtle wisdom and ancient turtle knowledge. So, as you can see from the slideshow I'm presenting here, um, first of all, I know people are like flat Earth. Fuck, what a bunch of Looney Tunes. But the thing I want you guys to really take a take a moment and just think about the most advanced ancient builders on our planet. You know, Dendara of ancient Egypt and the pyramids of Egypt, right? The Great Pyramid of Giza. Its latitude and longitude is the speed of fucking light. Okay. Like, think about that. They literally were able to build its latitude and longitude that literally equals the speed of light. Um, we cannot reproduce most of these pyramids and ancient structures, like uh, Kailasa Temple in India. We have no idea how they built it. Um, the rubble taken out of Kailasa Temple is literally enough to build like four Great Pyramids, and they have no idea where the rubble is. That like the all of the excess stone, because they cut it from the top to the bottom. It's all made from living rock. And by living rock, I mean like they did not cut stone to stack stone on top of stone. It's all one piece. Like we cannot reproduce this stuff. Um Look at the some of the temples built in South America. We cannot rebuild this stuff. The knowledge built in the actual architecture of these pyramids and these other sacred sites, we can't reproduce. I mean, like, we absolutely cannot do this. Like, with all of our technology that we have, we think we're so fucking smart that we cannot reproduce these things. You know, so, and the point I'm getting at is that when you look at their cosmology and when they explain how the world is, it's almost always a disc sitting on top of the back of a turtle. This is the metaphor they use, or they always depict it as flat. You know, so we look at our ancestors, and we're like, oh man, these mind-blowing structures that we fucking can't reproduce now with all of our technology, and they're so advanced and like, but then people in the same circles, when they look at how they depict Earth as a disc, people are like, oh, well, they're just a bunch of savages and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But the thing you have to understand is that when we talk about non-linear concepts, the only way to explain and talk about non-linear concepts is literally through the story of myth, uh, storytelling. Uh, these non-linear concepts can only be explained through metaphor and like various other creative means. It is not meant for the logical mind to absolutely understand. We can't, like, here's the truth. We can't do it that way. It's not how these grand truths are given. So literally our ancestors are showing us some kind of grand universal truth about the world that can only be explained when we think about the world as being flat. Now, I'm not saying the world is actually flat, but what I am saying is that there's something that our ancestors are trying to tell us by explaining the world as a turtle. And that's why it predominates every culture in the world. Every creation myth, for the most part, explains the world as a turtle. If you look at all of the ancient shamanic tribes, They all describe the world basically being born on the back of a turtle. Why is that? What is this universal truth that they're trying to tell us that has to do with the nature of the world being flat? Now, I'll tell you, what if the part of the world we live on is the circumference of a coin? That's where we live on this planet, is that edge, that that line. That's all of the world we exist on is that coin. Now, if we see it not moving, it looks quite small. Now, if I take my finger and I spin that coin, if I spin it fast enough, could I ask you, is it flat or round? Well, if I spun it fast enough, you wouldn't be able to see that it was flat. You'd see that it was round. You'd be like, oh, well, that's round. But if I were to stop it, you would see it as flat. But that's the thing. Everything in our universe has motion, right? So it's in that motion we realize that all these holographic Earth a hologram sort of people are right. That the world we understand is sort of a hologram. And that's why if you look at one of those holographic clocks that go back and forth, and in the back and forth moment, we see, it's 12:45. Or, we see the picture as it moves back and forth. Front to back, right to left, up to down. Pick your movement. It doesn't matter. This is what our ancestors are trying to tell us, is that something can be flat and round at the same time. These are how to hold two opposing ideas, flat and round. Because that's the thing. When we look at something, flat is two-dimensional, 2D. How do we make something 3D? You add movement. When we add movement to a two-dimensional object, we give it 3 dimensions. It is, how long does it take for something to move through space? That is literally the XY of our dimensional space. And this can only be understood when we add movement to dimensionality. When we add movement to dimensionality, we get 3D, because it takes time for things to move through space. That's literally a calendar. You get what I'm saying? And that's why the turtle has always been associated with the lunar calendar in things, right? And what does this have to do with everything else? Well, because only from this understanding will we be able to understand all the other mysteries. Mount Meru, the tree of the Yggdrasil, the tree of knowledge of life. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. These are like, man, this is like such ancient, simple wisdom that it's simple. It's not difficult to understand. There's no fucking metaphor. Like it is a metaphor, but you have to understand that it's a very simple metaphor. That as we progress up the tree of knowledge, or up Mount Meru, or this internal climb, it's not an external thing. We have to do this within. And as we understand this knowledge, we understand that there's also, the better we internalize this knowledge, then we can take it and see it outside of ourselves. If you were to remove all the water on our planet, Earth would look like a half-eaten apple. Well, that's because if you listen to what the Babylonian tablets say about what happened to Earth, or what we used to be called Moloch, or Maldek, pardon me, or Tiamat, Earth was hit by an outside force. a rogue planet, if you want to believe it was actually rogue, um, an outside force, an intruder, nemesis, came into our solar system, and one of its orbiting moons hit our planet and literally shaved off half our planet. And if you want to believe some of the stuff that was said, that there were some very powerful forces from the within the galaxy literally intervened on our behalf to like try and save this planet. And one of the things they did was dump a whole bunch of water on our planet to try and stabilize the decay of our planet and re-solidify the sphere by dumping a whole bunch of water on our planet and saving, and thus also flipping. So a lot of like the stuff that we lost, we were able to imprint the holographically the what we call the inner Earth. So the continents and other planetary a part of our planetary that we lost, we were able to imprint on the inside of our planet. We call that inner space or inner Earth. And so generally, so on this inner Earth, we have like more. It's we were able to literally flip our planet inside out and right side in. And what we call on the outer shell is some of our lower dimensional uh civilization. And our higher dimensional civilizations are on the inner earth. And there is this divide now between that on the outer and the inner, right? Where there's division, there's issue. Again, you don't have to believe me, and that's fine. Um, but like I said, if you take you don't have to believe me. All you have to do is spin a quarter on a table real fast yourself. You know, that flat quarter sure does look round the faster you spin it. And if you were to spin that quarter or that disc fast enough, you would not be able to tell that it was flat. It would literally look like a spinning ball. And that ball that you would see from that disc spinning fast enough is literally a hologram. It it is a holographic representation of a sphere. And it's just a disc spinning really fast. And like I said, so let's say the big side had all sorts of other life on it that was much more bigger than the world we live in. So that is literally how you can make something that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Like when you do that, that's how you compress energy. Like it's literally when you take something like a crystal and you compress it, it's called metric energy. It's how a quartz battery works, right? So when we do this, that field of the spinning that we call Earth, this flat Earth we call it, that spins, and it creates an electromagnetic field as it spins. This will compress energy. Again, if our core of our planet is actually a crystalline structure, an iron diamond, and in the center of that iron diamond is microscopic tear in reality, which is what generates our toroidal field. That is what we call like Earth's magnosphere, uh, ionosphere, all of the varying spheres above that, the electromagnetic energy that surrounds our planet is all generated from that toroidal field, which is what makes the discs spin. Or our world spin. Doesn't really matter if it's flat or round because it's both at the same time, right? So when you realize that one of the biggest aspects of alchemy is to hold two impossible things in each hand, light, dark, matter, antimatter, uh, chaos, order, night and day, masculine, feminine, these two opposing forces in each hand, and we're supposed to be able to meld them together without destroying ourselves, the universe, and everything in it, and then take it apart and be able to do that. Because when we do that, we have the power of the gods in our hands that we can create and destroy, and not and to basically of creation and destruction, we can meld them together without destroying ourselves, the universe, and everything. This is literally what alchemy teaches us. Um, you know, and this is ancient ancestral wisdom that our ancestors want us to understand. You know, like you know, like just take a look at some of this the pictures I'm showing you here. Uh, like this is what they're trying to teach us. This is what they want us to know. Like this is simple. Wisdom and knowledge is simple. It's not complicated. It's not if people try to overcomplicate true wisdom and knowledge, they're trying to gatekeep. They're trying to like, oh well, you're not smart enough to know this. Oh, spend another 10 years in university and you might be able to understand what I understand. Oh, the reason why you don't get it is because fucking bullshit. That's absolute garbage. Um, Knowledge is simple. Wisdom is simple. Uh, this is there shouldn't be anything complicated about it. The only thing that should complicate it is you and your ability to understand it. So, like, especially when it comes to this sort of thing, like this, it's as simple as the universe is easy as 1, 2, 3. How do you get from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4? What are the mechanics of 1 becoming 2 and 2 becoming 3 and 3 becoming 4? I said it was simple. I never said it was easy. Because simple and easy are two separate things. We have to separate this idea that simplicity is easy and 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 easy is simplicity. That's not true. I mean, like the simple answer is we have to move this giant rock. Now, is moving a giant rock simple? Yeah, yeah, it is. Is it easy? Not always. It depends on the tools at hand and the knowledge you have. Like for the ancient Egyptians and any ancient megalithic structure, building structure peoples, yeah, it was super duper easy. They use sound, they use sound and light to levitate rocks and move shit around. That's what they did, because they had the technology and the know-how. Um, Also, where they were located in space and time was more the energy was more applicable to that kind of thing. Now we are moving back into a place that is more so, where we will be able to levitate things with sound and light again. But right now that's absolutely more difficult than it sounds, you know but again, that's because we don't understand how it was completely done, but we will again, you know? And this all has to do with like the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, the Yggdrasil, or all of, again, why does every culture revolve around a tree and it being like where the tree of life, the tree of knowledge, like every culture, it's not just one or two, every major culture like talks about a tree of life that all life comes from. Absolutely. Why is that? It's like, it's like, because again, you have to understand that that they're talking about a non-linear concept that can only be explained through metaphor and storytelling, myth making, and myth keeping. Because again, they're not talking about an actual physical tree, at least not anymore. But at one point in time, there were trees that literally, um, before the last ice age and the last great conflict of Earth, there were giant trees that were literally the anchor point for Earth's electromagnetic field. Like literally, when they cut down the world's largest tree, in the 1800s is when our Earth's electromagnetic field started shifting all over the fucking place. They cut that thing down and it started shifting. It absolutely did, and like because in each age there's a world tree, and the biggest problem is we don't have a tree to replace that one. It's not there. That's why they're trying to. It's supposed to. That's why it's moving into Siberia, and that's not where it's supposed to be going right now. You know what I mean? Like that's because they're artificially trying to move our electromagnetic field. You know. I hope I'm not losing you guys here. Because again, I can see, as far as I can tell, the world's round. But there is something our ancestors are trying to tell us that about the world being flat. That's why they always depict the world as a turtle sitting on the back, and as a disc, sitting on the head of 3 to 4 elephants, standing on a turtle. This is why that's always depicted that way. Absolutely. And the thing you have to understand is, what is it they're trying to tell us about the world and about the nature of the universe and everything in it that we exist in, that can only be seen if the world's flat. You know, a ring inside of a ring inside of a ring that's all spinning around. Like it's Ezekiel's wheels, man. Like, and until you are able to see the world a non as a stationary object, and you are able to visualize the different rings spinning around, will you be able to have a good gauge of where we are in the universe, right? So again, you have to understand there's 4 elephants. You can only see one because it's a direction, right? Um, yeah, you know, we have to really realize that this is what this is about. And when we do, you'll realize that you'll be able to see the metaphor, right? I don't know what a meta is, and I couldn't tell you what it's for. um, yeah. So like again, I'm not gonna tell you the world's flat. I'm not gonna be like, there's an ice wall, and the government NASA's a lie. And I'm telling you, it has more to do with electromagnetic frequencies, and like, cause these aliens, demons, gods, whatever you want to fucking call them, they literally can control the electromagnetic frequency that we perceive the world at, that you can't even perceive it. I mean, generally, if you are locked in monkey brain, your mammalian brain cannot process the true nature of reality. So our brain, just like your nose, you can see your nose. Did you know that? Your brain can see your nose. If you look down, you can't see it and make you go cross-eyed. But your brain omits your nose from being there, so you're not always staring at your nose. That's the whole expression. Oh, it's right under your nose. That's why you can't see it, but you can see under your nose. You can see your nose the entire time. So your brain omits the fact that it can see your nose, right? Um, so just like that, your brain omits how time actually functions. So that way we see it in a linear fashion. So that way we can go day to day and do our job and do this and that and, like, put pump cheese on nachos and fucking go get our fucking Big Mac or go to Starbucks and get our frappuccino and, like, do your 9 to 5 and, like, whatever. So before we had this artificially constructed time that we live in right now, that we lived in a much more organic and linear, non-linear time frame, that we had time for thinking like this and this more natural, organic time. And that we were able to have more time to be open to these mysteries, this natural knowledge, and that this was stuff that our elders actually taught us in, like, like we would go to temple in our holy days, and we would learn this stuff from our from our elders, and this was handed down from. And again, some people were more attuned to it than others. And if you had a calling to this kind of knowledge, you'd be taken into the medicine huts. You'd be you would be brought into the mysteries. You'd be educated in this stuff, which is why there was it's why Rome went to war against the Druids and the Gauls and all of the free peoples of Earth. Literally, who would have thought freedom would be hunted? The free people of this world have been hunted to almost extinction, and our beautiful fucking world turned into a prison planet. Because if you actually look at a crib, with the bars on the side, we're literally teaching children that the safest place for them is a prison. Right? Oh, here you go, baby. Sit in your crib. It's a safe place. Look at the bars. Look at the bars, baby. Oh, look at the mesh in your playpen. Look at the mesh. It's a cage. It's a chain link. It's a net. No? Um, really. Think about it. Right? You know? We've turned this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. It's been turned into a prison. And, like, I'll tell you what, though, the one thing they don't tell you about prison is there are more free people in prison than there are outside of prison. Was it Timothy Leary's last book was called "I Have America Surrounded," which he wrote from his prison cell where he died. When they arrested him for having 2 joints. You know, uh, But again, that's because, he was being used by the government to, like, facilitate, he was trying to free people's minds, but he was being co-opted and he was too caught up in his own bullshit to realize it, but, like, I'm not in prison. I'm not, I'm not held captive. I came here to do a mission. And, you know, it's like Rorschach from The Watchmen. You don't understand. They're trapped. I'm not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with me. Right? Uh, there are more free minds in prison than there are people outside of it. Like, you cannot contain a free mind. Like, this is literally what this is all about. Free your mind. Expand your consciousness to be able to perceive these ideas. How can two things that seem completely opposite both be true? How can the world be round and flat at the same time and both be right? When you are able to hold these two opposing concepts together and both be correct, you will actually start to see the world, as it actually is, not as, like the flat earthers are like, the world's only flat and NASA's a lie. It's not that NASA's a lie. It's that they can only show us what they can see because they're literally, their whole world is being manipulated through electromagnetic perception. We can't see the truth because it's literally being obfuscated from a higher dimensional understanding that we can't wrap our heads around. Like, these are higher forces, aliens, you want to call them aliens, gods, angels, demons, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that they operate from a higher dimensional understanding than we can even perceive. And that they're manipulating the truth of our world in a way because, again, because for one, we haven't been ready to understand this knowledge and this wisdom up until recently, up until very, very, very recently. So like I'm telling you, the world is both flat and round at the same time. It's simple. If you don't believe me, spin a quarter and look at it. Quarter's flat, quarter's round. If you understand anything about dimensions, if that if that quarter, when it's not moving, is two-dimensional, and then you put it on its side and you add movement, you get the third dimension. Now, the other axis of the fourth of space-time is movement in space. It takes time for stuff to move through space. That is literally how stuff works in the third dimension. And it's only by understanding that are we able to transcend fourth dimensionality. So I really hope this is making sense to some of you guys. Because again, I'm not trying to tell you that the world's flat. I'm also not trying to say the world's round. I'm trying to say it's both. Both of these things can be true. And it's only when we realize that two opposing forces can be true. It's like one, only light, only darkness. Only light, only darkness. Tastes great, less filling. Tastes great, less filling. It's like fork, spoon, spoon, fork. Like like duck, rabbit. You know, both. It's both. Both of these things are true. When you realize that these two opposing forces, like you can't have light without darkness. You can't have dark without day. Um, you can't have good without evil. You can't have right without wrong. And it's only when you realize that with between these two opposing forces, you find the middle path, which is the edge, which is the circumference. Without understanding, without being able to find the circumference, will you be able to figure out the volume of something, right? What fills something. And this is what fills something is God, which is the energy of creation. You know, when you understand the divine aspect of this, we are able to fill that void with creation. And only then are you able to actually understand how you make something bigger on the inside than it is on the out. And when we do that, we're literally, when we go within like this, we are literally causing a disomorphic energetic release in ourselves, that we are generating infinite energy by creating this uh, internal pressure in ourselves and generating within our crystalline structure, our crystalline heart, that we are able to create this infinite energy, just like a quartz battery, except that it literally will be forever, because as long as we're pulling in energy through our crown chakra and our star chakra, our earth chakra, we're always going to be creating the spin, creating it, re-energizing the spin as we go around and around and around. We have one that's going up and up, up and down, that creates it's a Mobius loop that literally is our beginning and end, and where they overlap we can see. And it's only when we understand that we'll be able to see where they begin and end. Where does your infinite self begin and end? Where do they overlap, right? Um, yeah. So again, I think this is kind of a shorter video, but it's pretty heavy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Um, Once again, like I said, if you have any questions, shoot me shoot me a fucking question. I will be more than happy to answer, because yeah, this is like I said, this is some pretty heavy stuff, but I don't know. I'm feeling good about making these sort of videos. It's not all in my head anymore. Can you imagine? I've been walking around most of my life with this stuff running around in my head. No wonder I'm always confused and don't know what I'm doing. Uh, yeah, man. Hopefully you enjoy, because I'm really enjoying making these videos. Um, so I'll be doing some stuff about astrology here, and I can do cards too. I'll be doing some of those later here in the near future. But I'm really liking these myth making and the Myth Keeper series of videos I've been making here, because like I really think that the most ancient of magic is storytelling, and I'm an old-fashioned storyteller, and I really just want you guys to know this stuff, because it's knowledge that will set you free. And what's wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge. Knowledge is wisdom, you know? And it's only through wisdom will we have the perseverance to be able to not let the power of knowledge corrupt us. Um, so anyways, enjoy. God bless.